in a cold tone, Zhan Qinwen loudly asked him to disclose where he hid all the food he stole. Hid? What are you talking about? Everything I stole from the other homeowners are here. As the crowd just simply watches the entire exchange, the guy, clearly in pain, answered as he shakes profusely. Stop lying to me, Zhan Qinwen said. I saw you take 3 big bags just now, but you only handed in 1. Then, you must have seen it wrong. I swear, I brought everything. The guy stuck to his story as Zhan Qinwen added a little pressure to his arm, intensifying his pain. It seems you intend on not saying anything, right? Then I'll just have to beat it out of you. Maybe then, you'll behave yourself and tell the truth. Gritting his teeth in frustration, Zhan Qinwen clearly had enough of the guy's pretense, and was about to carry out his threat when someone cut in at that very moment, surprising him. And this person was none other than Glasses Man, who gently grabbed his arm, signaling him to halt his actions. Zhan Qinwen, a bit puzzled, questioned Glasses Man why he was there, but Glasses Man just simply told him to let the guy go first. If you have any questions, they can talk about it. But this guy hid everyone's food. Zhan Qinwen retorted, still a bit puzzled. Glasses Man replied that he knows. He knows everything, so he should just leave it to him. Hearing this, he agreed without any hesitation. Then he let go of the old guy immediately after, commenting that he was only doing this for Glasses Man's sake. Glasses Man extended his hand, offering the guy a helping hand. It's okay, he said. So with a warm smile, Glasses Man continued. Then, almost like magic, the guy brought in the other 2 bags of supplies a while later from wherever he hid them. The guy apologized to Glasses Man, explaining that there were 5 people in his family, and the food they share were really not enough, so But Glasses Man once again cut in, giving the guy his rations for the day. He told the guy that his family needed it more than he does. And this, of course, shocked the guy greatly. He asked why Glasses Man was doing this. What will he eat? Rules are rules. Whatever is collected must be handed in, and then a fixed quota is given according to the number of people. But I also understand your difficulties, so you can quickly take this back to your family. Hearing this made the guy emotional, nearly bringing him to tears as he began to shake. He was grateful for Glasses Man's generosity. So as he was leaving, he loudly said to Glasses Man that from now on, if Glasses Man has any problems, anything at all, he should just tell him Old Wong, and he will do everything in his power to help. Glasses Man replied with a laugh when he heard this. He then said to Old Wong that if he happens to encounter any difficulties in the future, letting him know will be the right thing to do. He then turned to the crowd with the 2 bags of supplies in hand. Everyone, please come receive your rations for today and go home as soon as possible. Hearing this, the crowd, grateful and amazed by Glasses Man's behavior, agreed and did as he said. So as the crowd gathered around, Glasses Man handed the supplies to the Zhan brothers, who asked him curiously, Mr. Jiang, how did you get him to hand over the hidden food? Yes, how did you do that? And he was so willing all of a sudden too. Also, why did you have to share your rations with him? Maintaining his smile, Glasses Man replied that the fact of the matter is, what he really did was nothing special other than made the guy understand the truth. This only piqued the brothers' interest some more, so they simultaneously asked what the truth was. Glasses Man pushed up his glasses and replied that in the history of the country, there have been several riots and conflicts caused by conflicts of interests between different classes. But this nature will be defined as social collective behavior. And as long as they are not caught on the spot, the participants will not be convicted. So I just told him that if he breaks the rules, the group will not accept him and he will be just an outcast and a thief with no one to turn to if he needed help. And if anything were to happen to him, no one actually knows whether the law would settle the matter when the disaster is over. But before that, they will face revenge from the owners whose properties were robbed. Hearing this, everyone was surprised and, once again, amazed at Glasses Man. Oh, I see it now. So that was it. Uncle Lou, who was resting in a corner not far away, heard the entire discussion and thought to himself that Glasses Man may have a point. But among those rioting groups, there is often a leader who directs the actions. There will always be heroes and villains in troubled times. And this guy, Jiang Shueyo, was no ordinary guy. Meanwhile, on the 18th floor in Han Feng's apartment, things were progressing as it was previously shown. After sorting out the effectiveness of the purple light on the wall, Han Feng had shifted his focus to his glass window. And with the same process of hardening, he was now checking the toughness of his glass window. Han Feng had struck the glass window repeatedly until he was out of breath. And from the looks of it, the glass was as tough as the hardening wall. Because Han Feng had not made a crack on the glass after his repeated attempts. So as he stared breathlessly at the heavy hammer in his hand, Han Feng thought that now that the whole apartment has been strengthened, and the hardness has been confirmed. His next step should be... His thoughts were immediately cut off by a sudden knock on his door. Curious as to who it might be, Han Feng headed to his apartment door in a careful manner. He needed not to have a similar incident as earlier. He also even thought that it might be another homeowner coming to steal his supplies. But as he peeps through the hole in his door, he was surprised to see none other than Miss 38D Melons and Crazy Curves, Lee Hyona. And what was more important was that the current situation was identical to the scene from his previous life that led to his death. It had the same settings. Indeed, this was it. This was the time Han Feng met his end. Hyona, shaking profusely, told Han Feng that it was her. I have thought it through these days. Hyona read her script, identical to what she said in Han Feng's previous life. I cannot let you down. Only in times of trouble can one understand true love, and only those who truly love me will give me their all unconditionally. If you don't believe me, open the door and touch my heart. This, of course, made Han Feng recall everything that happened at this point in his previous life. It's exactly the same words as that day, he thought. That means that, beside her, that man is also outside the door. Finally, I can finally get what I have been waiting for. I just need to shoot these two bastards to death. Han Feng quickly left his apartment door, rushing to get his rifle. But as he got closer, within a touching distance, he halted in his tracks. Wait, there's a power outage now. The enemy is in the dark, and I'm in the light. If I can't kill them with one strike, I might get killed again. If I use the electric shock, then I have to trick them into holding the door handle at the same time, which is impossible. And I'm not sure how effective this electric shock is. Thinking of all this, Han Feng tried to calm down. He had been waiting for this moment, and finally, it was here. He needed to calm down and think this through. But first, he had to sort out the current situation about the light. So Han Feng quietly turned off his generator. Then, he closed his eyes with his hands leisurely resting on the heavy hammer's handle. Focused. And as he calmed himself, he thought, the biggest threat to me now is not Lee Hyona, but the man hiding in the dark. So if I go out there, I have to instantly locate him and also give him a fatal blow in the process. This might be to my disadvantage, because if I make one wrong move, it's over. Okay, so how can I determine his location in advance in the apartment? I remember the guy should be hiding in the corner behind my door, and that place is a blind area. In my previous life, the attack came from this direction, so it's probably here at this spot, although it will take some time. But it might work with a bit of luck. Han Feng quietly and carefully activated his purple light as he touched the wall. Meanwhile, outside his apartment's door, Hyona, on the other hand, wondered why there was no response. So she asked again in a hopeful manner, Han Feng, are you still there? Please open the door. Han Feng, the guy who waited patiently in the blind spot with his iron bat, asked Hyona. Hey, is this guy worth our efforts? Yes, Hyona replied. He still had some supplies left, and it occurred to me a while ago that he had bought a truckload of goods the day before the disaster. Hearing this made the guy smirk. He was clearly pleased to hear this. Oh, then this guy is enough for us to eat for many days. Unbeknownst to him, a portion of the wall not far away behind him, covered with purple light, began to move. Then, something also began to form immediately after. So, little by little, the form took shape. And as it did, it took the shape of a hammer. But at this moment, the guy heard some sound. So he whispered, asking Hyona if she'd heard something. No, I didn't hear anything. What sound? I seemed to hear something behind me. As he said this, the guy turned his head to take a look behind him. And as he did, what followed immediately after was a massive smack on his cheek as a lot of blood splashed from his mouth. He may have lost some teeth too. Accompanied with a loud bang, he crushed heavily on the ground in an instant, letting go of his iron bat. Hyona, shocked, was momentarily speechless seeing this. And as she got her act together, she asked the guy what was wrong. But as the guy laid on the floor, trembling all over and unable to respond, Hyona told him not to scare her. What was wrong? In this moment, Han Feng's apartment door opened with a click, and as Hyona turned to look, she was met with a fire extinguisher. Han Feng released the visibly white gas in the fire extinguisher directly on Hyona's face as she screams in pain like the siren of the Pacific she was.